What's up, guys? I'm BTC. There is a brand new patch on the live version of the game that includes a new experimental mode with quite a few buffs, nerfs, and other hero balance changes. Quick reminder, this is experimental mode only right now, although I fully expect most or all of these changes to get pushed to the rest of the game, maybe in a week or so. So the first thing is with Ana. She just got a flat nerf. Her healing has been reduced from 75 down to 70. This does not affect the damage. It's only the healing, 75 down to 70. I do think that the game needs less healing overall, but I would prefer to see it in the form of anti-healing because that's a form of counterplay as opposed to just nerfing the healing for a bunch of different characters, because it just makes those healers feel less impactful when you're just not healing as much. Next up is Bastion. He got a couple of changes. First is with the Sentry mode. The spread was reduced overall by 10%. Also, the spread reduction, the max amount of spread reduction, the attacks was lowered from 60 to 40. So this means that while you're attacking in Sentry mode, instead of having it take 60 attacks in order to minimize the spread on your attack, it now only takes 40. So that means that overall in Sentry mode, you're going to be more accurate, both just at the start and when you hit you're going to be able to get to that maximum amount much more quickly. So Sentry mode is going to be more accurate, although there's definitely going to be spread, particularly at the longer range. And then the next thing is with his self-healing. So what they changed were two things. First is that the resource drain rate was increased by 20%, so that is a little bit of a nerf there, but the healing per second was increased from 75 to 90. So even though you have a little less duration on the meter, you're able to heal for a very substantial amount very quickly. So this is definitely going to be a pretty significant buff to the healing aspect of the character. And also the spread gets increased as well, the benefit of that. However, I don't think that either of these changes are going to address the main issue with Bastion, which is that 90% of the time he's a stationary character. And characters that are stationary are very easy to deal with, particularly at the upper bracket. And when you have a Bastion that's behind a barrier and he's got a pocket healer and that sort of stuff, it can be very frustrating to deal with, particularly in the lower bracket. But even with all of this stuff, currently, Bastion is the least played character in the entire game. This includes upper bracket and lower bracket. Every time I say that, people always say in the comments, oh, I see Bastion all the time. No, you don't. He's the least played character. Even in bronze and silver and gold, he's the least played character, and I think the major part of it is that he's just stationary. So these are definitely going to be buffs. I can see his pick rate going up a little bit. I can see people experimenting more with him, but fundamentally, this doesn't resolve one of the major issues with the character. Next up is Junkrat. He got a bunch of changes. The first is that your primary attack, the projectiles maintain slightly more velocity on ricochet. So this means that, one, it's going to move faster towards the enemy, but second, if it's traveling through the air, if it bounces off of a wall, then it should be traveling a further distance. It's a little difficult to show you when it's bouncing off the ground, but imagine that it's hitting a wall and it bounces off, it's going to be moving faster, so it's going to travel further. So that's a little bit of a buff to the attack. The second thing is that the projectile speed for the concussion mine has been increased from 20 to 25. So this just means that you're going to be able to throw it out a little bit faster than before. And also, the ricochet distance off of enemy players has been greatly reduced. So this means when you throw it at an enemy, rather than having it kind of bounce way off to the side, it's just going to pretty much drop right at their feet. And that's, so one, it's going to move faster, and two, it's going to be closer to the enemy if you end up managing to hit them directly with it. And then the next thing is that whenever Junkrat gets taken out, his passive, the Total Mayhem, the detonation time was reduced from 1 second to 0.7 seconds, so you have less time to get away, and also the spread has been increased by 50%. So you can see that it's spread out quite a bit more. Now, the fact that it was spread out more and the fact that they end up detonating quicker means that it's going to be significantly more difficult to get away from that damage. So if you're really close to Junkrat, there's now a pretty good chance that you're going to take at least some damage when he ends up getting eliminated. Next up is Mercy. There's really not a whole lot to say about this. She just got a flat buff to her healing potential. The healing per second has been increased from 50 up to 55. That's it. Just going to do a little bit more healing per second now. Overall, in longer duration, you're going to end up healing a bunch more because of that extra 5, but you're still not going to have any kind of burst potential healing. It's just that flat 55 healing per second. Next up is Moira. She got a bunch of changes to the biotic orbs, and this includes both the healing and the damage orb. I know there's a very small number of people that always complain and want to see the damage orb nerfed, but I don't think anyone wanted the healing orb to be nerfed. So the first change is that the damage radius was reduced from 5 meters to 4 meters. This is very simple. It just means you have to be closer in order to take damage from the orb now. So that's just a flat nerf. The next thing is that the projectile speed on both of the orbs has been increased from 16 to 20. So this is a pretty decent speed increase on the orb. Means that if a target is further away, whether it's a healing target or a damage target, you're just going to be able to get the orb to them a little bit faster. But the biggest change, and this is a pretty substantial nerf to both of the orbs, is that the duration has been reduced from 10 seconds down to 7 seconds. Previously, it would be 10-second duration, 10-second cooldown, but now it's going to be a 7-second duration, you can see it just disappeared, and a 10-second cooldown. So there's going to be a gap of 3 seconds between when you can use this. Again, I know that some people, very small number of people, wanted to see the damage orb get nerfed, but having the healing orb get nerfed, I don't know about that one. Again, kind of the same situation with Ana. Yes, I think there should be less healing in the game, but I think it should be from counterplay in the form of anti-heal as opposed to just reducing the overall healing of the characters. And when I say anti-heal, I do want to emphasize that it doesn't mean 100% anti-heal. You could have abilities that have a 20% or a 30%, 50% anti-heal, so that it will reduce the amount without completely wiping it away, because that can be frustrating as well. But overall, these are some pretty substantial nerfs to Moira. Next up is Zenyatta. He just got a flat buff. The Orb of Discord damage amplification was increased from 25% to 30%. A while back, they nerfed it from 30 down to 25. I don't know if that was during the 222 roll queue rebalance or if it was a GOATS comp nerf or something like that. Anyways, they nerfed it from 30 down to 25, but at the time, they also increased Zenyatta's damage. So the amount of damage that he was doing was buffed so that it would compensate for the loss of potential damage from the Discord. Basically, what they wanted to have happen was Zenyatta would still continue to do the same damage, but all of your teammates would do slightly less damage from the orb. However, what they just did right now was they buffed the Orb of Discord back up, but they didn't nerf his damage, which means that after this change, he's actually doing more than he was previously, so way back before they nerfed it. So they gave him back the damage on the Orb of Discord, but they never nerfed his normal attack damage. So this is just a flat buff to Zenyatta. This is going to make him better than he was before. So quick recap, Ana's going to do less healing overall. Bastion got some nice buffs, but they're probably not going to change anything because he is still stationary 90% of the time, and that's the main problem with the character. Junkrat got a bunch of nice buffs. He's going to do a little bit more damage overall, not because his attacks were buffed in terms of damage, just because they're going to be more reliable is basically what's going to happen. And then Mercy's going to do just more healing overall. Moira is nerfed pretty substantially with those biotic orbs. Both the damage and the healing orb are nerfed. So overall, she's going to do less damage and less healing. And then Zenyatta is just going to do more damage overall for both himself and the rest of his team. So those are all the changes that are currently in the experimental mode. Again, as I've said, there's a really good chance that all of this stuff is just going to get moved over to the live version of the game pretty soon, maybe in a week or so. What do you guys think about these changes? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. You can get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media with the links down in the description below. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, and remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.